Throw in the towel. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Our idiom, our expression today is to throw in the towel. This is, of course, an expression that comes from the sport of boxing or from fighting. When one person was pretty much being beaten, they would signal that they wanted to quit and end the fight by throwing in a towel. Generally a white towel covered with sweat and all kinds of other gross bodily fluids, but obviously not a boxing fan here. That's where the expression came from. Now, I don't know anything about boxing, so it'd be silly for me to try to talk about boxing or give a boxing analogy. I do believe my grandfather on my mother's side was a boxer, a lightweight boxer, but that's the extent I know about the sport. Haven't really watched it, not attracted to it at all. I think that anybody that punches each other or gets hit in the head too often is going to lose some capacity, some mental capacity, some physical capacity, some every kind of capacity. We're not designed to be whomped in the head repeatedly. So what does this have to do with growing and building our business? What does this have to do with anything in our life? To throw in the towel means to quit, to stop doing something, usually when we're at a disadvantage. Usually when we think we're going to lose, we throw in the towel and we quit. Now, I'm here to go against all conventional business wisdom and say quitting is not always bad. Sometimes it's the absolute positive best and most appropriate action given a situation. So how do we know when to quit? How do we know what to quit? How do we know who should quit? How do we know how to actually quit? When to quit? All those who, what, where, when, why, and how questions got me to thinking about this today. And I'm thinking about the times that I have consciously quit something in my past. I've quit jobs. I've quit relationships. I've quit businesses. I've quit hobbies. I've quit habits, good and bad. Unfortunately, we'd like to quit our bad habits and keep our good habits, but I've been an expert at quitting both. Sometimes we quit things for a short period of time and then we pick them up again. For example, those good habits. I've done a lot of different challenges and quit things on purpose and discovered that choosing what we should and shouldn't do, what we do and do not want to do, is coming from a sign of personal power, personal understanding, and doing what's right for us, not necessarily what's right for the rest of the world or what other people think that we should be doing. So, how do we know, when do we know, when we should stop and drop and quit doing something? Each of us are different. It's going to be slightly different for each and every one of us. But my bottom line rule is when something feels bad to you, and I'm not talking about hard work, because hard work feels good to some of us. Hard work or struggling or little obstacles and challenges are not an indicator that we should quit. Oh my gosh, that was a slip. That we should quit doing something. If we quit every time something got hard or challenging, we would never accomplish anything. You certainly wouldn't be listening to me because you wouldn't have started a business. You wouldn't be trying to grow and supersize that business. You would have thrown in the towel on that business a long time ago. And sometimes we need to do that. I have actually thrown in the towel on several businesses, not just one or two, but several, because I discovered that they weren't the right business or the right fit for me. Or other things in my life changed, for example, my divorce, and they just speeded up the process. I knew long before my divorce there were businesses that I wanted to exit, and that just gave me an excuse to do it. Same is true of when we want to quit other types of relationships. When I wanted to quit my marriage, I knew my marriage was over long before I actually made the conscious choice to decide to leave that relationship. We know that there's certain hobbies and sports that are good for us, but we outgrow them. Our interests change as we grow and mature. I used to play tennis, and I loved to play tennis. I still would play tennis probably several times a week if I wasn't legally blind. But once you're legally blind, tennis becomes a very, very frustrating sport. Now, I tried to play tennis, and the emphasis is on hoped and prayed and tried to play tennis for a lot of years as my vision was deteriorating, and discovered that missing the ball by 3 to 5 feet every single time when you think you're going to hit it can get to be really devastating and frustrating when you've been a good tennis player. And so finally at some point I just decided that I wasn't going to attempt to and put myself through that because it didn't feel good anymore. Tennis used to feel really good, and when it stopped feeling right for me or good, I stopped doing it. I quit doing it. Even though it was good for me and I loved doing it, I quit doing it because other extenuating circumstances made it the right decision. Same thing is true in our businesses. We know when a product line or a service or an offering or a customer group or a competitor or something in our environment, something in our business is off and isn't right. And only you know the right time for you to quit. And it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It might be the third time you get punched in the face, you say, that's it, I'm done, I'm going to quit doing this, and I'm going to find a way to get this done without getting punched in the face. I would love to know your stories about your experience with throwing in the towel. What has been the deciding factor for you in determining what you would and wouldn't put up with when you would quit something? I quit jobs because I discovered there was a mismatch between my core values and the organization's core values, or the current leadership in that organization's core values. And I wasn't going to be able to achieve the goals and objectives and keep moving and making progress toward what I wanted long term within or without within that company. And it was the right time for me to say sayonara and to leave, for me to quit and leave and move on to do something different. And in a couple other situations, guess what? They decided it was time for me to move on and quit. That happens too. That happens to us. It's fun when you can laugh about those situations because there's so many things outside of our control. And if we get upset over everything that's outside of our control and freak out about it, it just hurts us. It doesn't hurt anybody else. It doesn't hurt anybody else in the world. It only hurts us. So share your stories of throwing in the towel, quitting, below. Love to hear them. And I will, of course, be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom related to business. What does it mean? Where does it come from? And how might you use it in your business and maybe even in your life right now? Take care. Catch you tomorrow.